let's invite our first smart energy company on stage. So please, DEPsys and John, come on stage.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So we are DEPsys, and our technology is called GridEye. And we work with the distribution system operators, which are the companies that basically own, manage, and operate the low voltage and medium voltage electricity networks that deliver electricity to your houses in order to make them more digital and more efficient in their quest to accommodate more and more of the new low-carbon technologies like electric vehicles, storage, and solar panels into their networks. So two important figures here. 5% is the amount of increase in electricity demand in Germany between 2001 and 2011. 27% was the amount that they had to increase the cables actually deployed in the low voltage part of the network in order to accommodate for that electricity increase in demand. So we see that this is a sector that doesn't really have data and doesn't really take efficient decisions. So when in doubt, without any insights, you tend to oversize. But this is not going to be sustainable in the future, especially in the world where you have more and more of solar panels, electric vehicles, storage space, startups that want to innovate and actually deploy their technologies at the edge of the grid, where the low voltage and medium voltage networks are. So what's going to happen when you reach actually full capacity in electric vehicles? At the moment, we're at below 1%, but we're going to soon, in 20, 25 years, reach 100% capacity, and all of that will have to be accommodated at that part of the grid, at the edge of the grid. So the way that we as consumers are also operating is changing, and that is a big challenge for the distribution networks. So now we have two main things that are changing the landscape. First, and most important, is the fact that we have to decarbonize our network. So we need to reach more strict emission targets. And the second is that we actually have people embracing new technologies. So what we say is that we are going to put more data from the grid in order to fight oversizing and being less efficient. So intelligence versus cables. What you see here is basically a typical grid. You have, and you can see that the more you go towards the end customer, the more points you have to manage and consider and control. So you could make the resemblance between a tree and the grid. The trunk is basically the high voltage network, where it's very robust. It's been there for years, so no need to make a lot of changes there. But the more you get to the leaves, that's the distribution network, and you have less and less visibility. So one way, and a very important thing to know when you want to control all these new elements that are coming into the network, is that you have to know a lot of things about the grid itself, the length of the cables, their physical properties, what we call the parameters and the topology of the grid. But that is actually not known by many operators today. So this is where our patent and technology comes into play. We have what we call the modelless control. So by installing the devices that you see here, the GridEye, with their own intelligence at the edge of the network, they can actually sense and map the network around them. So this means that you don't need a heavy centralized system in order to be able to have data and actually be able to connect and control all these new distributed energy resources, the electric vehicle charging stations, the storage and the batteries, and the solar panels that are coming more and more into the network. So for us, it's effectively local intelligence in order to solve local issues on the grid. So we are DEPsys. We're coming out of Switzerland. We are at the moment working with more than 25 DSOs in more than 6 countries. We're growing rapidly, and we're now in a stage where we're completing our pitch for the second round of financing. We're looking to raise 5 to 10 million. We were founded in 2012, quite rapid growth, more than 20 people working in the company as of now, and we're looking to double that growth and triple that growth in the next couple of years. So effectively, what we want to do is we're aiming to digitalize the network so that all the ecosystem, together with us, can digitalize energy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot, John. Very interesting. Can we get comments and questions from our investor jury?
Thank you very much for that. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
My first question is just around the amount that you're raising. 5 to 10 million seems like quite a range. And it'd be interesting to hear from you what that's going to be deployed towards.
Yeah, so it's actually 5 million is the basis. We're closing the pitch deck at the moment, so there is a potential for increasing more than 5 million because we're looking for a single investor at the moment, more of a financial investor. 70% of that will actually be used towards commercial deployments. So we're going more into marketing and sales and business development and moving into some new countries. And 30% of that will be used for R&D and more technical developments. The reason is that we've done a lot of work in actually coming out with a robust system. Networks in many places of the world are quite similar, and they face quite similar challenges. So for us, it's very important at this moment to scale and actually meet with DSOs also, not just inside Europe, but also outside Europe.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot for your presentation. My question is about data integration. Is your device able to integrate third-party data, or is it a standalone solution?
Yeah. So it's at the moment it's quite focused on utilizing the data that we get from the grid. This is the reason why. So actually, getting data from the grid at the moment is a challenge. You have a lot of smart meters around, but the smart meters are not actually providing a lot of real-time data. They could give you values every 15 minutes, but they actually usually give them to you every once per day in a batch of data. So we're definitely integrating values from third parties, and this is one of the things that we're going to implement now, smart meter data inside our system to better manage some of our applications. But we also make sure that we get a very large part of the data that we would need from our own devices.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick question. Congrats on your impressive progress so far. So I've been trying to understand who your ideal customer is, and part of that is, let's say a DSO is not trying to do anything super complex or fancy, so no EV strategy, not yet, no DG strategy. What can you still offer them? How can you still bring them value? Because in theory, that might be a large, the largest segment right now.
Exactly. So it is the largest and basically the only segment for us. So we work exclusively with the distribution system operators. Of course, the world is not flooded with solar panels or storage or electric vehicles. A lot of them are being reactive, so they have some issues in some parts of the network, and this is where we're good at. We don't need to install a massive, let's say, infrastructure across the distributor's infrastructure. We can start with a few devices. We have an IoT type of platform, so our system works even with few devices and can scale to thousands. Some are being proactive, so they would like to actually understand what are the challenges coming in, so this is why they choose us. To get some real insights from the network about and understand how they will have to manage with the DR that's coming in. But what we have done is we have started to operate as a system that provides applications for the daily management of the operations of the DSOs. So one big part of our business at the moment is being, let's say, an operational system for the DSO with the data that we gather from the grid. So we don't necessarily need all these clean tech technologies being in the network, because we're already providing a very big value in terms of asset management, power quality, monitoring, analytics, from the data that is something that they need for the day-to-day operations, even without the DER.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, jury. Thank you, John and DEPsys.
Thank you.